Jarrow was a small town near Newcastle. After World War One, there was a major shipyard in Jarrow called the Palmer's Shipyard. Palmer's Shipyard. After World War One, the shipyard lost business. There weren't enough ships being built, mostly because the world was actually disarming pretty much after World War One. There weren't enough ships being built, and after the Wall Street crash of 1929, there weren't even enough cargo ships being built. And also the size of ships had gone up too, and the Palmer Shipyard was relatively small. It couldn't build the size of ship that was required during that time. And as a result of all of this, the shipyard actually closed in 1934. It shut down in 1934. You have to imagine that most people in the town of Jarrow, most men, worked on the shipyard, and this immediately led to about 80% unemployment rate in Jarrow. So huge amounts of people out of work, and they began to feel as though people were ignoring their plight, particularly the government, the Prime Minister Stanley Baldwin. They felt as though they were being ignored. So in 1936, they organised a march. And the march would actually go to London. They would go to London, and there was about 200 of them that would go on this journey. They were joined by the MP Ellen Wilkinson, who was a left-wing MP, later famous for introducing free milk for school children, actually, after 1945. But she was actually the mayor of Jarrow at this time, and the MP she was the MP for Jarrow, not the mayor. And she actually joined them on the march to London as well. It actually got a lot of opposition. A lot of people refused to support it, partly because it was non-political. It was a non-political march, so it was not associated with the Labour Party or the Conservative Party or the Liberals. It was non-political, so you had people from the Labour Party and the Conservative Party marching together, members of both parties joining forces, if you like. So that lost them a bit of support. The unions didn't support it. The Prime Minister didn't support it. Little sympathy. However, when they set off on this massive march from Jarrow to London, it was a long, long way. It was actually 450 kilometres. 450 kilometres were going to be covered. On the way, they got a lot of support from members of the public. Really, really supportive. Every town that they went through, all the way from Jarrow, they went through Chester Street, Ferry Hill, Darlington, Harrogate, Leeds, Wakefield, Sheffield, Nottingham, Northampton, Luton, and eventually, obviously, to London. And all the way through these towns and cities, they received really, really good receptions and a lot of sympathy. A lot of them would be wearing their best suits, the marchers. They'd be wearing their best suits. They would be playing harmonicas. There'd be an almost jovial atmosphere. And along the way, they were helped out at various points in terms of food and accommodation and all that kind of stuff by members of the public. On arriving in London, they handed a petition with 12,000 signatures on it to the Prime Minister. 12,000 signature petition to the Prime Minister, Stanley Baldwin. Stanley Baldwin actually refused to meet any of the protesters, and the achievements of the Jarrow March were quite limited. Nothing actually changed. Baldwin pretty much ignored the march. Baldwin ignored it. He didn't really change anything as a result, but one thing it did do, and this is quite significant, it really raised the profile of the unemployed and the suffering of the unemployed in in Jarrow, but also beyond Jarrow in other areas affected throughout the United Kingdom during the Great Depression.